While at the Penny Arcade Expo in Seattle, Washington, we were able to see an amazing assortment of new video games. However, with all these different games, is their purpose solely entertainment? Video games are such a vast medium, but their territory has yet to be fully explored for spreading environmental concepts.
A number of people in the environmental movement, and certainly parents, that shy away from video games because quite often they associate video games with their kids sitting indoors for 4 or 5 hours or longer at a time and not getting outdoors and not socializing with people. But it's a little bit like saying that movies are evil. It's easy to say that TV is evil, and yet if you moderate, you watch TV in moderation. There's some really interesting stuff on TV, and there's really interesting movies out there. And games, I think, actually are a much more powerful art form than either of these, because it's in an interactive art form, and one that includes writing and story and characters and art and music and thought processes. The player actually has to think while they're playing these games.
Pocketwatch is a developer of video games on animals and their environment, designed to be highly entertaining but integrally educational, teaching strong environmental ideas and values while you manage beautiful ecosystems. Andy Schatz, founder and sole full-time employee of the company, is trying to open up a new space that merges gaming, wildlife, conservation, and education.
Pocketwatch's latest game is Venture Arctic. In it, you're able to control the forces of nature to impact the ecosystem. Combined with an Inuit lore-inspired story, the player is able to experiment with the weather and mass extinction in order to see how animal relationships change.
When you read something from a book and you read about animal behaviors and things like that, you're not actually learning about how scientists will go about actually discovering things about the animals. And I think that there's really a lot to be said for going out in nature and actually just sort of sitting there and observing animals. And that, to me, is one of the most valuable aspects of the game, that it's the starting point for an education, and it's also a way to teach kids about, okay, try and analyze what it is and why it is that an animal is doing what it's doing. And I think that that's extremely valuable. I think it's something that you can't really learn from books. And I think that also the interactive nature of games and the fact that games provide positive feedback makes kids a lot more interested in learning, first of all, and second of all, makes them remember it a lot better.
While not a true video game, Second Life and other virtual worlds are still an interactive medium that allows each user to design their own game inside its open virtual space, whether it be socializing, selling, marketing, or helping to spread information.
Since its creation, Second Life has gone through numerous updates, user creations, and trends.
A year ago, 2 years ago, I think, was when we had a wave of businesses coming in, setting up Sims, trying to construct a place in Second Life. That very often were very poor attempts at copying their real-life business model. That was the era 2 years ago to a year ago. I think we're moving into another era, though, where we're seeing a different group of people move in and try to find a use for Second Life, which is the era of the educator. And the educational model that will emerge is not going to be an online classroom. Normal distance learning doesn't get us engaged in community. Normal distance learning You're slotted into your computer screen. You're interacting with, at best, the instructor on the other end.
Michael Nezen, or user Watts Larson, attempts to solve a major problem with using Second Life by allowing its residents to offset the electricity used to power the servers that run each virtual island with his Green Island project.
The Green Island project is an attempt to bring renewable energy credit into Second Life and have an impact on the real world. And consequently know that even if the environment you are operating in is not necessarily green, there is green generation out there in the world that matches the electricity that your avatar is using. It's suggested that the average avatar uses roughly the same amount of electricity a year as the average Brazilian. So, we are having a significant impact on the electrical load in the nation by operating these virtual worlds. And I think that there really is a strong case that you can make for cleaning up your Energy Act.
Offering energy offsets is just a temporary fix until Second Life and others use more efficient servers and alternative power. But an advantage with making carbon offset donations through Michael Nezen's Green Island project is that a percentage of the donations go towards funding Michael's own sustainable island, which promotes environmental building and consumer information in an incredibly elegant interactive space.
We take a keystone markup on those green tags. You could go directly to Bonneville Environmental Foundation and buy green tags yourself, and I encourage that. We take a keystone primarily to maintain and fund the sim that we operate at Commonwealth. I think that Second Life can be one of many tools that helps give other people that insight that there's something beyond ourselves that's worth preserving.
We have always been trying to use new technology to better teach and to present information. In our current age, with the increasing amount of individuals requiring faster internet connections, and a huge innovation taking place both in the real and virtual world, education in a three-dimensional, interactive environment is quickly appearing on the screens of more classrooms and households. This is allowing opportunity for new developers to help make distant environmental issues become real.
Hopeful, certainly, that other people. One of the things that I always talk about when I'm talking about designing games is there are so many subjects that we can use as inspiration for designing games. There's no reason that we have to keep going back to the same old trough again and again and again. World War II, is a very interesting subject, certainly historically, but how many games have there been on it? Whereas you just look outside and you look at, birds flying around or whatever it happens to be. There's a million subjects for making games about, there's a million sources of inspiration in our world